For more, let's speak to Fabian Kretschmer, a freelance journalist in Beijing. Hello to you, Fabian. Tell us more about these lockdowns in Wuhan and the rest of the country.
Yeah, I find it quite symbolic. I mean, almost 3 years after the first COVID cases were discovered, now Wuhan is locking down parts of the city again. And let me emphasize, I mean, lockdown in China means you're not able to leave your flat. It's very draconic. And it goes to show that, life here feels like being in a time machine. We are stuck in an endless loop of zero COVID rules. And that affects, of course, not only the people in Wuhan. I mean, the lockdowns have been expanded here in Beijing, where I am. The situation is rather relaxed. Only some residential compounds are sealed off. But if you go more land inwards to Zhengzhou, that's the provincial capital of Henan, basically you have a citywide lockdown. Then even further in Lanzhou, the provincial capital of Gansu, you have quite awful situation of people having to quarantine in sometimes public toilets, because it's really a logistical challenge to do those lockdowns, and even rising astronomical food prices. So it really goes to affect our everyday life. Of course, not everyone, but the number that is really affected is increasing by the day.
Yeah, and China always mindful about dissent there, and we're seeing these lockdowns really test people's patience. We've seen rare protests even in the tightly controlled Tibet.
Yeah, I mean, those protests are basically the first public protests in Lhasa in Tibet since 2008. And they are, as social media show, done by mostly migrant workers, Han Chinese, Mandarin speakers, who are stuck in Lhasa. They cannot leave the city. They cannot generate work because they are in this lockdown situation, and they are fed up. We don't know the exact background because Tibet is really tightly controlled. But I mean, it's about zero COVID, and the frustration is real. But let me also emphasize that those who are directly affected by zero COVID, for example, by losing their work or being under lockdown, they are fed up. But it's also very easy not to care, because official media, they will not report about the negative side effects. Also on social media, there's a lot of censorship going on. So it's really difficult if you're in China to get the bigger picture. But definitely the zero COVID rules are really dragging down many people and also disrupting our everyday life.
All right, Fabian, thank you very much. Fabian Kretschmer reporting from Beijing.